All right, sorry about that. All right, so we have these overarching essential questions for 5th grade that we've developed. One is, can somebody please read this one out loud? Just because I have trouble seeing it. Is there anybody who could read it out loud, unmute themselves?
How have policies and actions by the dominant group affected the rights of other groups?
Okay, and another essential question for 5th grade. Can somebody else read this one out loud, please?
How can we raise awareness
of human rights and persuade others into a call to action?
And this next one, this is the last one.
What does it mean to be an American?
Great, thank you so much. So these are the big 3 essential questions that we use to frame our 5th grade school year. And we do have a couple of big social studies units that we also do. The big one big one is Indigenous Peoples and Colonizers. And their end of unit project was about how colonization has impacted Indigenous peoples past and present. So we relate it to the present also. And another big unit is the Making of a Nation, Who's America? And who was America created for was the big essential question of that unit. How has that impacted Americans past and present? We created a social justice framework. Also, we have this reading curriculum. And so our first reading unit is about the US Constitution. And this is where I figured I could include some of the sources that I got from the study group or from the We Are All Americans professional learning. So you can just see like, these are just some different ideas I had put down here, like where we could put in different things, like replace some of the text in our curriculum. So, and this essential question is, why do laws continue to evolve? And these are the texts that we read during this unit. So like we read about the Constitution, the Dred Scott decision, but also about the Chinese Exclusion Act, the Voting Rights Act, disability rights. And then we included the case studies of the incarceration of people of Japanese ancestry. So this is where I was able to bring in that curriculum into reading. And it was reading and social studies integrated together.
When you said
Yes.
you read those texts, what did that look like?
So we would spend like a week on each text, and a lot of them were like shorter excerpts. And so the kids we would work on things like summarizing skills and then at the end we would, let me go back a slide, hold on.
And they were in English.
Yes, so we were reading all in English. The students might talk to each other in Spanish to negotiate meaning and stuff. When they're working in small groups, they were often doing that. English language development, they were supposed to speak English because only in, they're required in that part that they have to speak English to develop their English. But like a lot of times when they're in small groups, they would talk to each other in Spanish to make meaning of the text. Because a lot of the texts were at 5th grade level or higher. And I'd say the majority of my class was not reading at 5th grade level yet. So especially like with a year of, almost a full year of distance learning and all that. So one of the strategies in ELD that we used was just the visual thinking strategy, which is like looking at an image and saying like, what do you see? And like focusing on like use the present tense. And then another question, what do you think is happening? And the last question is, what questions do you have or what wonderings do you have? And it was focusing on language. So these are some, oops, what happened here? Oh, it clicked on the actual lesson. I didn't want to do that. Sorry. Let me go back to, these are some of the images that you've already seen, and these were in Grace's slide deck as well. So I'll just focus on one of the ones that we did with our students here. So there's this cartoon, political cartoon here. And if you want to, if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to a Jamboard. And if it's easier, I'll also put the Jamboard link in that. I was going to give people like 3 minutes. There's 3, hold on. Let me get the link in the chat here. There are 3 slides for you to look at. Here's the chat. Sorry, just like, you forget all the Zoom things after being in person. So there's the Jamboard link if you'd rather get onto that. Let me get off this designated ELD slide deck here. All right, and so if you get onto the Jamboard, it looks like this. And then you can make the picture smaller, but it was just, what do you see? What details stand out? So this is just observations. And the second one is, what do you think is going on? What makes you say that? And this is where I had the kids use subordinating conjunctions like because or since. on that, focusing on the English language. And then what does this make you wonder? I know 3 minutes isn't a lot of time. And usually the kids would do this, like they would write down what they think they see, and then they would go talk to a partner, because a designated ELD, 50% supposed to be oral language production. So it's practicing their English language. But I would also have them write things down. So what I'll do is I'll show, if you could just put a sticky note on here about what do you see, what details stand out. And what I'll do is I will just show this one on the screen so that it's easier to see the big thing while you're on your Jamboard. Are people able to get on the Jamboard okay? Yeah, okay. I know it's rushed, but like another minute. Okay. Is there anybody, I know you put some things on the Jamboard. Is there anybody who would like to share out loud, either something that you see or what you think is happening, what wonderings you have? Maybe we can get like 2, 3 people to share out loud. Just go ahead and unmute yourself if you want.
Hi, well, I'll speak. I was noticing, and when I unmute myself, my whole thingy went away, the sticky notes went away. I only see 2 sticky notes up there, but the detail is that Hitler's pretty prominent. You can clearly tell it's Hitler. And then the Japanese person. And like someone else said, the Dr. Seuss name, who's, well known for his children's books, but is also should be known for the many politically incorrect cartoons that racially that he's made.
Thank you, Candace. Yeah, and the kids did notice the Dr. Seuss at the bottom kind of right away. Is there like one more person who wants to give a comment about these images? Okay, well, I did notice that like on the second slide that people had noticed that like Emperor Hirohito looks comical, even piggish. And I think the other 5th grade class, the teacher mentioned that the kids really noticed how racialized this caricature was, and like the otherizing, calling them. So anyways, these are the things that we had the kids talk about also. And this was done throughout the unit. just so that they could build more background knowledge. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next part here. We also showed them videos. This is the video that we just saw. Oh, that was actually a slide deck. Sorry. There's like other, sorry. I don't want it like these videos to actually start showing. This is a propaganda video by the government. So there was like a slide deck. There were 2 videos, one that you just saw with Grace, another was like a propaganda video put out by the government. They're all linked in the slide deck, so you can take a look at those on your own time, but it was like 9 minutes long. I didn't want to show it all here. But in our reading, we focused on the case study. So there were 6 different case studies that we got. And the reading level was pretty tough for the kids. But so each group got focused on one person's case study. And then with this, they wrote about who was it, what happened to their family, what did the US government think the rights and responsibilities were of Japanese and Japanese Americans, and what did the person in the case study and their family think were their rights and responsibilities. And so we had each group do this, and then they put this on a poster and presented to the class. And then we looked at similarities, like, oh, they noticed that families were forced to leave their homes, some joined the military to show their loyalty, and others wanted their families to stay together and to say no on the loyalty oath. So we just kind of, this was kind of like after the week of reading. And like I mentioned earlier, like they were making a lot of talking in Spanish with each other because the text was it was challenging for them to read. Another designated ELD strategy that we use is called Stronger and Clearer Each Time. It's where they respond to a prompt, and this one says, how would you summarize the case studies that we read about the incarceration of people of Japanese ancestry? And so they would write their initial thoughts in this first box here. And then what are some pieces of evidence from the text to support, what they put there? Then they partnered up 3 different times. First time, they talked to somebody, they shared their ideas. They would jot down ideas, maybe vocabulary they heard, or just maybe things they hadn't thought about, and they wrote it here so that they could make their own final version stronger and clearer. Then they took what they got from the first person, went to the next person, and incorporated what the first person said verbally into their summary. And they did this with 3 different people so that they can then, on their own, re-summarize. And the hope was that it would be stronger and clearer than their initial thinking on their own. And so I just want to show you a couple examples. And if we could get, maybe I'll just call on people to read the before and after. So this is a student, Jose. Let's see, Judy, could you read the before and after? You can just read the typed one. I figured it would be hard to read kids writing. But
yeah, I want to make sure I'm reading in the right place.
you're right. Mm-hmm.
People with ancestry got separated, and some went to the military to serve their country and to show their loyalty.
And I kept the spelling the same as the kids. And so you can see that he talked to 3 different people. These are some ideas that he got from the 3 different people. Okay, and then he took those ideas and then rewrote it. And if, let's see, Eva, can you see the screen? Are you there, Eva? Okay, let's see. Jackie, do you mind reading the second one?
People of Japanese ancestry got separated, and some went to the military to serve their country and to show their loyalty. The US government decided to put Japanese families on incarceration camps.
So that was Jose's, before and after talking to 3 different people. I have one more person here, Yudian. I'll read the first one. They got sent to a prison camp. And let's see, Paul, would you be willing to read what he rewrote after talking to 3 different people? Oh, can you unmute yourself, or is that, no? Okay. Let's see, Candace, would you be able to unmute yourself and read what?
Sorry, I figured it out.
Oh, he got it. Okay, he got
I
it. I'll
lost
get you
my
next one.
Zoom, sorry.
Okay.
All right, where is it?
Oh,
Sorry.
the second one that's in the black box.
Somebody else. Oh, second one.
Okay, I got it. The
Good.
US government wanted people of Japanese ancestry to join the military to show their loyalty to the USA government. Some say yes, and others said no. All families got sent to an incarceration camp. And Eva said her audios or her speakers not working either. That's
Okay,
why she-
great. Thank you for letting me know. So between the 2, Jose and Yudian's work, like what did you notice? You can just say it out loud. unmute yourself. What did you notice between like the initial version and the second version after talking with 3 different people?
Well, they
Both of-
definitely added more details. They certainly learned and added some specifics.
Both of them used the key vocabulary about loyalty and incarceration camp.
Yeah, and you'll notice, like, I think Jose's was the same. Like, they both just said they went to a prison. Like, you're not sure who they, like, who's this pronoun referring to, and they got more specific in their final version. So this is a strategy that we use to kind of build their English skills. Thank you for sharing. And then we're going back to this. These were all the texts that they read. So then they had to write like a mini essay about why do they think laws continue to evolve. So they had to make a claim. They had to choose 3 sources from the list of sources that you saw, choose evidence from those sources to support their claim, and then explain why that evidence was important. And it's all color coded. This was developed when we were in full distance learning. So everything's color coded. So it's a little easier for them to remember and access the information. And so you can see here, it's all color coded again. And so I was just going to share a couple, Adeli and Allison. So like they had slightly different claims. Like Adeli says, because the laws were racist, that's why laws continue to evolve. Allison said because people wanted to be treated equally. And these are 2 kids who happened to choose the incarceration of Japanese Americans. And also Elizabeth, who's a newcomer, and Leslie. Elizabeth said laws evolved because people didn't agree with the rights the government gave them. And then she wrote about 3 different sources that support her claim. And Leslie's was that laws were not fair. So they had a choice on what sources to use. We also, for the next unit, read Sylvia and Aki. We did a whole complete text replacement of the whole unit, which was about fiction and character. And this is historical fiction based on the lives of Sylvia and Aki. Sylvia Mendez from Separate Never Equal, about the fight for desegregation of California schools, and Aki, Minimutsu, and how their lives intersected. And so at the end of this, they wrote letters to the other character from the point of view of one character. And these are just kids showing what they learned about like life while incarcerated. Aki was incarcerated, so she wrote to Sylvia a couple times. So these are just some examples of kids writing their letters. There's another strategy, I'm going to try to go through this quick, called text reconstruction, where there's some text and you read it out loud to the students multiple times, and then they work in groups to try to reconstruct the text. And like you might focus on a certain language aspect, like you might focus on, okay, this one was about time, order, and proper nouns, just making sure that they knew like the sequence of things. But sometimes it might be about like how compare and contrast words are used, or depending on the text. So I read this text about Fred Korematsu to them multiple times. First time they just listen. Other times they write down, they listen to it a few more times and like, oh, this time focus on time order. Next time focus on this. And then once they've heard it a few times, then they meet in groups to talk about it. And so there's a lot of meaning making happening in the groups. And so these were some of the ways that the groups came up with. We don't have time to read through these all because I only have 5 minutes left now. But each group came up with slightly different ways of retelling this. One group, I think they put in a bunch of stuff that wasn't in the text that I read out loud to them. It was like other stuff that they had learned about Fred Korematsu. So, and then this last one is called sentence unpacking. And so they look for key nouns. It's to basically take a big complex sentence and break it down into smaller parts. So they would look at they would read this, we would read it together, they would write down what they think it's mainly about, we talk about it, and then we would break it up part by part. And normally I'd have people go through this, like I would highlight different parts. What does this part mean? They would talk about it with a partner, write it down, and we discuss it. And then I'd share like, this is one way that you could interpret this, right? And so I'm just gonna go through these quickly. So this is just going through different parts, breaking it down, discussing it, what each sentence is about, just because this kind of supports English learners in kind of breaking down a complex sentence, and then just kind of looking at this all together. And we do this quickly here. We would talk about, now what do they think it's about? Sorry, I'll go through this quick. This was like looking for compare and contrast words, and this one was cause and effect word. All right, so here, we don't have time to do this, the Mentimeter. I was gonna have you all do this, but I had the kids do what comes to mind when they hear the word American. So we don't have time for you guys to do it because we have to be out of here soon. But this is what the kids came up with last year. And it was like in the middle of the unit. So the bigger the word, that means the more people put it in. I think I let them put in 5 different words or phrases. And then what I did is I fixed it so that I retyped everything in with their typos fixed, because sometimes like it looks like not a lot of people said it because they have a spelling error. So this is what it looks like with their spelling errors fixed. So this is what students came up with, like what comes to mind when they hear the word American. And you're welcome to say, make any comments or whatever. But if you have time, if you can do this QR code, if you could give me feedback on the presentation, that would help me a lot. Like just if you got what you got out of it. And we're going to need to, we have a couple minutes to do that, but is there somebody who would like to report back to the whole group? Let me get the QR code or the.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Did I hear you say that most of what you just presented was done when kids were not in the classroom with you?
No. The writing stuff, well, some of the stuff was developed in distance learning, like the writing, the essay thing. But all this stuff was done last year when we were in person.
You were in person. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the feedback form link in the chat also. And is there a volunteer who would like to, who'd be willing to share out what we did in our group? Sorry, I kind of rushed it at the end because we got a little less time.
I'll do it.
Great, thank you, Candace.
Mhm. I have a question. When you
Yes.
talked about the case studies, where did you get those from? Where did you just?
Oh, the We're All Americans workshop, and I can, I'm pretty sure Grace is gonna probably give you access to that. And
Okay.
if not, what I can do is I can link it into this slide deck also. If you wanna get in touch with me about any of the resources, my email is ann.park@ousd.org. I'll put it into the chat.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see like this thing, I couldn't just do like one lesson or, a couple lessons on this subject area. It had to be like, it was like basically from August to December, we worked on stuff, but it's integrated in all the different subject areas so that we could access everything. Are there any other questions before we get sucked out of here?
I guess, what did the children say back about this learning? Like what was their response?
I think what they saw was like patterns in US history, because it was like ties into bigger issues in the US. And I think that was their big takeaway from what they learned throughout the year. Like there are these patterns in history, and then the next step is talking about like, so what can we do about this? So but they're going to be closing the rooms. So all right, and thank you so much for your participation. I appreciate it. Oh, we have one more. We have 50 more seconds. Are there any more questions or anything that anybody wants to say?
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. It was great. Thanks very much.
Anyway, sorry we didn't have enough time to do the Mentimeter. I really wanted to do that, but I'm curious about other states, like what the policies are for supporting English learners, and do they have reclassification things as well? Okay, we're going. Thank you.
There's quite a collection.
And like I said, those are pictures that the vast majority, there's a few of them you saw in Grace's presentation, but the vast majority of them were never shown to the public because the the War Relocation Authority felt that they were too sympathetic to the Japanese Americans, as opposed to the American, we got to do this. It's a good thing. It's supposed to show how great these camps are and how protective they are. Yeah.
There were originally over 80, but I cut out all the pictures that didn't have people in them because I wanted them to voice, the people that were in the pictures. So,
yeah. Great.
All right. Is everyone back now? I think so.
Think so.
Yeah, we only have a few minutes, so let's get started. Do we have a reporter from Ads Room? If you could just speak up.
Would that be me? Hi. Well, let's see. I'm 6th grade language arts, so I kind of looked at it from that lens. So I didn't write everything down. But as a side note, there's a Scholastic magazine article that I use with my kids every year. It's called Behind Barbed Wires, that talks about the subject. So I went into this wanting to incorporate some things when I use that unit. So she shared some case studies, how she had her kids use case studies, and they write what happened. And there were some other questions that she had up that kind of went kind of fast, but I think that would be good for informational writing for the kids to be able to do. She showed how she tied it into US history and civil rights and incorporated that text in there so that it will meet the standards that the school is always requiring in the essential questions. The book, Sylvia and Aki, which all kids of all ages love books, and when you read to them, and then had the kids write letters to the characters. And I thought that was a great tool. And then I talked about text reconstruction and sentence unpacking to really delve deeper into the text, and a political cartoon of analyzing a political cartoon. So there were a lot of strategies that she spoke about to incorporate this into our studies. And I hope I didn't miss anything.
All right. Thank you so much, Candace. It's hard to squeeze everything into 30 minutes and much less a few minutes after that. So let's see. Marty and Amber's room. Is there someone who would like to speak up from there?
So, so we worked with 6-word memoirs and photos that weren't really shown to the public. Very much that tie into the propaganda, and you want to make people look like what you are hoping everyone else will see them as, so that people will be afraid. And they weren't scary photos. They were everyday photos of events that all of us have pictures of in a lot of cases. So having the kids focus and really, really choose appropriate language, because you only have 6 words, so you got to use your words wisely. That was really hard. But it was also, I think it's meaningful. They also had the kids do a postcard, or they could use a quote. So this is one that you could use in a lot of different ways for a lot of different types of writing. And so it was really cool.
Thank you so much. What I really like about all these presentations is they really shared with us a way to get into the classroom with a complicated curriculum that it's not generally on state standards, and linked it. So Junko.
I think we didn't decide who's gonna share out. Anyone?
Please, so Junko can hear what you got. Could someone please volunteer?
I'm happy to volunteer. I really appreciated hearing about the I've forgotten the word.
What shape are they? Pentagonal? No, what are they?
Hexagonal.
Hexagonal, sorry, the hexagonal, a tool to help kids think about different concepts around a specific person or idea. And Junko really packed it in. She's done a lot with social justice work with her fourth graders, and you know, from them writing speeches and doing marches, but she saw that they weren't really thinking about why they chose certain people and why they cared about that topic. So then she brought in, let's see, who's the person who did that? Molly's idea of the hexagonal, and I don't know if that could be put in the chat. I know we got shared, it was shared with us in the chat. This tool that was basically, I think we saw in the video that you basically, it's like a web, right? But with hexagons, and then but the difference, I think, is that you can manipulate, move them either digitally or with paper, like Junko showed us, her students did as well. And you talk about it. So the kids talk about it and they write about it. So like Molly mentioned that with her kids who are middle schoolers, they really saw that the process of moving those hexagons also led to the writing and thinking in different ways, and seeing why the kids, like this kid saw why writing was helpful in their thinking. So that was, I thought it was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may be starting hexagon fever in this group here. Thank you so much. I really like the way you looked at the work and you said, I got to get the kids to think about why are they making these statements? And you use the hexagons to help them do that. We have, before we move on, I just want to introduce the other members who didn't present and who are here. I saw Sydney. Sydney, you want to raise your hand? Just wave, Sydney. Hi. And Molly. And Carly was here, but I know her internet is kind of wonky, so she might have left. Anybody else? I don't see you. Okay, so we are almost at the closing, but is there one comment or question that people want to, someone wants to make? Well, I have something. One is, if you would like to join this study group, if we get funding for it, the requirements are that you attend a workshop. So we have one more virtual workshop, and I put it way up in the chat. It's tomorrow. It's 3.5 hours on Wednesday and Thursday, and it's about farming while incarcerated. And we're calling it posting, because that's, if we were going locally, we would, I mean, well, it is posting, but if we were going, we would be in Phoenix and we'd be talking about the 2 concentration camps that were built on Indian reservations there. So we'll have a special speaker talking about that, and then we'll be going through our curriculum. So you're welcome to join. There's lots of space. It's virtual. Just follow that link to go. And anything else, Christina?
Yes, well, just a round of applause for everybody. I want to just thank you so much for sharing this excellent work. And I feel like this is a very rich set of resources and conversations that we all just had. And we created a space in the teacher studio for us both to share these resources so that you can access them beyond this event. And I'm just going to put the link to that in the chat right now. That link will log you directly into this space. So just a real quick screen share. I can show you, if you go to the NWP Teacher Studio, once you're logged in, it'll look like this. And right now we're featuring it. It's called the Deeper Dive. We are all Americans teaching together. And so if you click here or you follow Deeper Dive on the left, you'll be able to find this group. And here we are linking we have all the resources that Grace shared at the beginning. We have links to the full elementary and secondary curriculum for We All Are All Americans. And then we will be posting all of the slideshows and resources that the teacher shared here, as well as the archive from this discussion. Those will be up later tomorrow. And finally, the farm labor workshop that Grace just mentioned that starts tomorrow is linked here too. So we welcome you to come into this space. We welcome you to introduce yourself and talk, share a bit more of what you gained from this conversation. And we hope to, continue to support each other in this important work as and using this space as one way to do that too. I think that's it. Any other good for the order comments anybody want to make or share? Thank you all.
I just want to say thank you. It was really wonderful to see so many people coming to a group in the summer and giving up precious few hours left of your vacation. And I'm so proud of the people who presented. It was great. Thank you so much.
And I just want to encourage anybody who has colleagues who you think this might be of interest to invite them to come to that deeper dive, because we will have the resources there and be able to continue these conversations. So thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you so much for all your great work. Great job, team.
Thank you.
You guys
Trying
want
to stop the recording. So
Oh, I can stop it.
can you stop it? I
think
clicked
so.
stop and it's not quite stopping.
Oh,